This is Zettelkast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLiPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelkastens. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelkastens have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Book.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Episode 35, Satellites, Workflow, and the Time Clock.
All right. Welcome to episode 35 of the Zettelcast. I'm Victoria, today's host. And I thought we would take a little bit more granular view of the Zettelkast system and what that looks like for each of us. And so I chose Satellites, Workflow, and the Time Clock. So to start out in the broad spectrum with satellites, my question is, do you use sub boxes or satellite boxes or other remote containers outside of your Zettelkasten? And then why or why not? And if so, how do those fit into your workflow? And then what about after the work is done? Do the cards go back into your main box where they originally lived, or do they stay within that project satellite? And then why or why not? So just a little bit deeper view into how we use this environment and what that looks like when we work outside of it. So anybody want to jump in and go first? Any volunteers?
Well, I could go first. My satellite system is mostly, at the moment, a triage of the enormously growing backlog. The backlog management is real, people. And does that mean that, oh, this thing is too time consuming? No, it does not. It means that this system produces more ideas than you can hold in your head. More ideas than you can execute on. More ideas than you ever thought possible. And I mean, who's going to complain about, gee, I have too many ideas? I don't know. I wouldn't do that. But it's more like, okay, this is an abundance that I have to learn how to manage. And some of that triaging is, nice idea. I don't think that rises to the level of got to do right now. But anyway, so I've got, so this is, well, that my backlog is in 3 boxes. This one, and there's another one. And that just defines the state of readiness to file. And I put them, so this one right here, which has numbered tabs, those numbers correspond to whatever I want to say that they correspond to, but I'm currently using them as sections of my Roanoke project area, where I'm basically adopting Kathleen's numbering system underneath the project. So 1 is for characters, 2 is for world, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I have these random ideas and I just put them on cards, then I can at least say, okay, that's part of the message. It goes under 4. And then I'll figure out where under 4 it goes as the card matures. So that's just a preliminary, get it off the desk and into a box. And then what I've been doing the past week is taking a lot of those. I mean, I have probably 150 Roanoke cards. And that's too many. But the nice thing about it is I'm discovering, hey, there's a book in here.
Right?
So what I've been doing the last week is take a cut of those cards and then just add more to them so that they are close enough to being fileable. Yeah. And so with all of these cards, I truly try to make it as fully featured as a main card anywhere else in the system. So it's got the idea, it's got my personal reflection, it's got a source if it had a source other than me, and a tagline. And all of that stuff takes time. And it's kind of a context switch too. So what I've been doing the last few times is, okay, I'll just take the box and I'll take my purple pen and I'll do my personal reflections. And then when I've got a bunch of those, okay, well, time to do some taglines. Then I'll just take the box and I'll do those. And by take the box, that is a way that I can get out of this office as much as I love it. Change of scenery is nice. Being with other humans is nice. Having the baseball game on is nice. So,
Right.
So that's how I use that. And then the other thing that I do, although I feel like I'm not yet plumbing the depths of this practice, is based on what Kathleen and Victoria both do with little cards on a ring. And so for a musical piece that I'm doing that's based on 32 verses of Sanskrit with the author, with, well, a modern author's questions that kind of precede each of those Sanskrit verses in order to kind of prep your mind for them. I've got all the questions on the card. And then I've done a little bit of color coding, because some of the questions begin with where. Like, where does something come from? Where do our biases and misconceptions come from? Is the card I'm looking at right now. So all the things that begin with where have a little green washy at the bottom. All the things that are saying how have red, etc. In order to see, okay, that I might not make anything of that, but again, I might, I guess, because this is for a musical piece, I might find an opportunity to have some kind of motif that always signals where, as opposed to how.
Yeah.
So that's enough from me. I think that's how I'm using these things.
Nice. Well, it's funny that as you progress along, you do start to communicate with yourself, and you start thinking, well, where does this fit, or why did I flag that? And then they start talking back to you, and that's when it gets really fun.
Yeah.
Anybody next on the chopping block? Anyone?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, like Julianne, I have a staging area. It's not as organized, but it looks cool. I've shown this before, but this is a cell phone storage box for teachers. It's got 30 slots in it, and I don't have a system. I just pop cards in that need to be processed in some way so that they don't get lost, scattered around, forgotten. So at least they are in one place. I've got mostly bib cards in here actually that need to be gone through, main cards made, filed, etc. There's a few main cards in there as well. And then I go really high tech for the next one. Since I do a lot of writing, like in a cafe or whatever, it's good to get out of the house and get a change of scenery, as Julianne says.
Yeah.
I put my writing supplies, my pens, and my cards in a Ziploc bag.
I love it.
And
I love it. Dipping into the classics.
Yes, exactly. So I've got several sets of cards in there right now for various projects. But I did run into one thing recently where I was making new cards while I was out, and I actually was able to number them and tagline them right there because I had the cards that they were going with already with me, but they still needed to be indexed. So I have some little folders that I made that are index card size. They're just a poly folder that's been cut so that you've got the corner. So
Nice.
I just started putting the ones that still need to be indexed in here to keep them separate. And then, if I get a break at work or some downtime at my desk, then I'll try and get them indexed, and then they can go back in the bag, back in the Ziploc bag with the rest of the cards. And then when I'm done with the project, they do actually have a home in the real Zettelkasten. But
That's awesome.
I may
Yeah,
upgrade to an actual like pencil bag or something at some point, but this is working for now.
All right, that's it. We're all going to pool our lunch money and send Mel a pencil bag. Oh, that's awesome. I can already feel myself mentally cataloging all of the folders that I want to cut apart to make little folders out of. It's like, where are you at? So wrong. So wrong.
And I know what you can do with the rest of the folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cut out little sheets and decorate them with washi tape, and they make great when you have to pull a card out of your index, you can pop that in and it sticks up very nicely. The whole top sticks above your card.
Oh,
So
Mel's just got a cornucopia down there.
Oh, look at him.
Look at that. I love it.
This is just like half of them.
I love it.
Look, I had some folders from the 90s from when I was in high school. Some of them were mine, some of them were my siblings. And I wasn't using them anymore, but I couldn't bear to throw them away because they had all sorts of cool graphics. So I made a bunch of those divider cards out of those.
That's awesome. Recycle, reuse. I'm all over it. I suspected we'd see a lot of that this episode. Like, how do we just make this weird stuff work? You just do. I was looking for a particular thing that I seem to have misplaced. It usually sits right here, but it's gone. Okay, next victim. Anybody want to jump in?
Sure, I'll go. Okay, I do triage as Julianne and Mel do, and I also triage in 3 layers. One group is a very immature set of cards, and that's cards that have either just a thought or just a thought and a response. They're not complete until they have a tagline, and hopefully I put a source in, because it's very cruel to my future self to create a card and not bother to put the source down, because then when I make a main card for it, I got to go back to Adler or whatever the source was and go find the page again. And so I'm just going to have a talking to myself to be kinder to my future self in that regard. Always include the source. But so there's some that are they're not mature. And then I've got another group that are completely mature. They have their tagline, their source, everything's there, that are ready to be filed. And then I've got another clump that already have their address assigned, but they haven't been indexed. So those are layers of triage. Beyond that, I do keep a working box, and I've got 2 layers of working box. One is a very small, relatively speaking, group of cards that I pull from my monthly newsletters, because I need to draw on those sources. They come out, they get spread all over my desktop, they get converted into an outline or whatever I'm going to do. And then when I'm done with my newsletter, they go back into the Zettelkasten. And then I've got this monstrous group of cards that take almost a half a drawer. This is a working box, and it's all the cards from my Zettelkasten book. And I can't put these away as I go because I'm doing my book in 2 passes. The first pass through the Zettelkasten talks about everything philosophically and thought processing wise, without reference to the objects, because it's there's so much going on at the same time. And it is my belief that a Zettelkasten is a thought process that leaves behind 4x6 file cards or 3x5. And others of us have expressed that better than I just did. But then, so that's the first phase. And then the second phase is the boxes themselves. And so as I'm almost done with the first phase. And when I get into the second phase, I'll start putting the cards away. So yes, they will eventually all go back where they belong. Unfortunately, there isn't enough space in some of the drawers that I pulled them from. So that's going to create a crisis. And the other
Interesting.
auxiliary box that I have that will never go anywhere else is my vision box. And that's where I keep my goals and my plans. It's in a separate container and it will always stay there. Hopefully it will morph into a full planning system. Thank you, Victoria, for the missing piece. I haven't integrated it yet, but I think it's going to be the thing I need to bridge the gulf between a big goal and a daily task.
Awesome. That's interesting. One of the main curiosities behind the question was when each of us finishes with a project or something that we're working on, what do you do with everything that you use to build it? Like for my novel, everything that I used to build that story stayed in the satellite box, which was the plot box, because it made sense to me to keep the whole world and the story together, not break it all apart and file it someplace else. That thought made me crazy. So that's kind of where the question came from. Deb, do you have a chime in?
Yeah, okay. I've been thinking about this question, and because of my, stellar organizational skills, I have cards all over the place. And so I have today coming another a box. Okay. Ooh. Right, a box. And this will, and it's a 2-drawer thing, and it's going to be my projects. That's what it's going to be. All right. So there is that. And I'm thinking, okay, so what projects are you talking about, Deb? What are you? So the first one that comes up is remember I had this thought experiment that I did based on Scott's latest newsletter, the 29, talking about recognizing literary gems and being able to if you will, second skin those gems, right? Yeah. And so I thought, okay, well, that's fine. How am I going to do that? I don't even know what a gem is. I mean, what does it look like? Does it have a name already? Blah, 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 blah. So I decided that I would take this opportunity and create a course for myself.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
A course for myself. And so that's one of the boxes. That's one of the project boxes. And cool. Along those same lines, I'm thinking, Michael Dean and his 27. Okay, let's do that as well. Take that on as a project. And then I'm saying, oh, look at this, what Kathleen has done. She's going to make these weekly treks into the traits. And that's great. I'm looking, there's the traits over there. There's information about the traits. And there's resources galore. Everything is organized. Boom. Project number 3 or project number 1, because, right. So there's that. And then there's Mel and Lo, right? So I'm saying, okay, this means, well, I was going to say my life revolves around these 4 projects, but that's not true. That is not true, and there's also the idea of Roanoke, of course, right? And what are the characters doing? And I cannot get back to the wiki. I don't know. I lost it.
Oh, you didn't say anything. So -2 for you.
Oh no, demerits.
Listen, Not only did I not say anything because I was looking, I'm saying, how did I not know where this is? Where are you? How can this be? And so I'm confessing, public confession. So I get my 2 back. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. So because I need to be able to access that. That was the whole idea of, that's how it came up in the first place.
Yep.
So yeah. So there you have it, everybody.
Awesome.
That's what's happening.
Well, because of that, you lost that thing. I realized that there is another kind of, it's digital. It's not analog.
Hmm.
And I never would have known about this software if it weren't for Scott P. Shepper. So blame him. And that's Zotero. It's a free cross-platform source thing for keeping track of bibliographic information, but it works great as here I am on a web page. It's like I said, that's how I save my bookmarks. Because I can make notes about my bookmarks, I can search, I can give them little taglines, so it's like R. Roanoke, whatever it could be, and you can search by those. So all my digital references, I keep in Zotero. It's fantastic for me. It's not really what the software's for, but it works great for that. And so, yeah, if anything, any YouTube video that I thought, oh, that was good. I want to be able to get back to that, because how many of you have watched some YouTube video and 3 months later you think it was a gigantic playlist that this guy created, which was the one?
Right. Yeah. The pain is real. My stupidity, I will like it. And so then I know in my head that it's on my liked videos list, which is only 89,000 long. What's the problem? What am I griping about? Yeah, it's bad. No, I'm going to check that out. That's fantastic.
And it has a little, a little widget you can put in your browser. So here I am on a web page. I click the widget. It remembers the default place where you want to store things. You've got your default thing. And so I've got Nadia Z as mine.
Nice. Yeah, I'm so checking that out. That's good stuff right there. Okay, for me, so I migrated my Zettelkasten into the 5 stacking drawers, which is working beautifully. No complaints there. I think anybody that knows me knows that I've always got a plot box, which contains the story structure for whatever story I'm currently working on. And then I have this is actually a playing cards holder. So it's a chunk of wood with felt on the bottom that has 5 slots carved into it. And it's actually meant so you don't have to hold your playing cards in your hands, but it just holds them up really nicely. So if I'm writing something that requires a specific set of cards, often I just tuck them in there. Again, I use it as a plotting tool, really, or a planning tool, if you will, and just tuck them in there. I use these. These are actually little zippered makeup bags, but they fit 4x6 cards perfectly. So often, again, like this is a specific 2-video set of videos that I need to make. So, it's just a container to hold that little project until I get it done. And then those all go back in the box where I pull them from in my main box. And then somewhere, I don't know where it got to, but it's actually for like grocery receipts and coupons, but it's just a little folio and it expands. There's 12 sections and you can label them, but it's basically a coupon holder that has a little lash around it. So like you can take it to the grocery store and, pull out your paper towel coupon or whatever. But I use that for character cards or scene cards that I don't quite yet know what I want to do with them. So if I have a place that's most kin to Julianne's kind of staging area, it would be that little expandable folio, because I do the same thing. You know, sometimes you just get tired of being in the same room or looking at the same stuff. So literally yesterday, I was over on the floor behind this monitor and spread everything out on the floor for the entire day and took all of my little satellites with me because that's the stuff I'm working on. So that's, but depending on the project for me, if it's a work of fiction, generally, I think what I pull to write it is going to stay in the box used to plot it and become the story Bible. For my book, Zettelkasten for fiction writers, I think everything that I used to write that book will stay in the box that contains it right now. I don't think I will put it all back where it came from, which might create a bit of an addressing traffic problem later. Again, I'm hearing Kathleen's voice in my head. Be kind to your future self, because later does come and then you're stuck in it. So I'm still chewing on that, but I've taken a couple of ideas from answers to this question that might help me out there. But yeah, I'm inclined to think about things within the project that I use them for. So if I go back to find them, I'm going to go back to where that project is, and that'll be the satellite box that I built it in, probably, which is kind of interesting. But okay,
Here's a thought,
here
Victoria.
endeth the satellites.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
I have a thought for you, Victoria, which may or may not work with how you work, but
Okay.
if your cards already have a place in your main box, but you're concerned about finding them again in context with your book, one thing that you could do is leave like directory type cards in the project box, saying, you know, okay, I use this, and these cards. You know, put their
Yeah.
taglines or however you do that, and then that way when you go to your project box, you can flip through it and like, oh yes, it was in this chapter or whatever, and oh, okay, here's where it is in the main box.
Yes.
I like that.
That is a perfect solution, because
Yay.
that's always my fear is, what if I can't get back, you know, to what I was working with or thinking or using, because that was what kept me stuck for so long, is I couldn't, you know, I knew I wrote that great draft somewhere, or, you know, I knew I had done some research on that, but I couldn't find anything. So that's kind of hanging over my head as I move forward. So yeah, some kind of a directory, like a catalog to myself that reminds me what the roadmap looks like. That's good. I will totally give you credit for that.
I've been trying to
Awesome.
implement
Okay.
something along those lines in my newsletter project boxes, so that's why it
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, I'm going to so
fresh.
adopt that for my newsletter projects. It's terrific.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about it.
Well, a
And
lot
it
of
keeps it
I
simple.
don't, all I need to have is that tagline, because the tagline will bring the whole rest of the card back to memory. And then if I need an exact source for a footnote, well, I know where to go to get it.
Right. Nice.
All right, thank you, Mel.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm in. Okay. Question number 2. Do you have a set notebox clock in work time each week for projects or knowledge development? Or is your Zettelkasten more of an as needed resource? How much time do you spend Zettelkasting each week? And how integral is it to the things you do daily or weekly? And then has this changed or evolved? So this is mostly asking after how much time you spend with it and how that's changed or what that looks like, because I have discovered it's certainly evolved for me. So that is the question to the group.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
With these project boxes, right? Because and I'm thinking, you know, my future self might get upset with me because I'm really burdening her, you know.
Right.
I'm putting so much, but the idea is it's necessary. That's all. It's necessary.
Yeah.
So, and the idea is, okay, here are the projects, and each one of these projects, this course that I'm, for example, the course that I'm doing on the literary gems, I keep teasing it out and teasing it out and teasing it out, and there's actually a schedule
Oh.
that's built into it. And I took your 60-day success thing, and I said, oh, okay, I'll do this course for 60 days. I'll plan it out for 60 days. And but I'm not going to tell myself I'm going to do this every day, because I'm not going to do it. I know this, right?
Right.
So every other day is the plan. And I'm saying I'm not going to do it for an hour straight. I know this too. I just, the monkey mind won't do it. So 1/2 an hour. So
Nice.
yes, I'm putting the burden on my future self to say, okay, here's the schedule. This is the intent. This is the timeline. And at the end of the 60 days, the objective is to be able to look at things, look at whatever I'm reading, and be able to pick out 100, because I will have, over this time, become familiar with 100 literary gems in a very systematic 1, 2, 3 way. So
Very cool.
there it is.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, part of the motivation behind the question was and is getting to know yourself. First of all, how you are now as a writer. I mean, how I am now as a writer is very different even from 10 years ago. So I've seen that evolve, but because of the Zettelkasten, obviously it's changed in other ways too. So I was just curious, what does it look like for everybody else? But this process will certainly help you understand, like you just said, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm the same way. I can't have a confined schedule day after day after day. I simply won't do it. I just know myself. Little red-haired rebel will be like, nope, not doing that today. So I have to build in ways that I can steer her so that she stays on track. But yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And
Well,
setting a time goal is good.
Yeah.
I agree. I do Pomodoros, and that helps me too, because then I can say, okay, I'm just going to do this for 30 minutes. Everything else can wait. And those are time chunks that my brain can be like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, that's why I have this. You see this?
Oh.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right? So,
Oh.
30 minutes on, 5 minutes off,
Right.
works
Cool.
nicely.
Yeah.
It doesn't give me room to go, just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Right.
So it's good. It's good. Yeah. Just like when I was 7, I'm 77, and I still get, I don't wanna, but at least this interim time period, right, has allowed my eye to open up a little bit so that I can see the tunnel at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, which makes me go, yeah, but you'll be all right. Go ahead. Do it. So
That's awesome.
that's
Cool.
it for me. Yeah.
I don't know that I have settled on my one way of doing things right now. Right now, my Zettelkasten process resembles in a way that doesn't make me happy my housekeeping process. Wait till it gets gross. Wait till it's a source of real shame.
Oh no.
And then go crazy.
Right?
So
That's awesome.
I don't want to be like that in either of those places, but it's a little more, enjoyable, I would say, trying to get a handle on the Zettelkasten thing. So right now I'm working through a backlog, which means that I'm working consistently every day through that backlog of cards. And that's really not difficult because I have done the triage where I can be sitting in front of the TV with my husband, half watching, half listening, or whatever, as I'm doing some of that. If you're reading a book and you're taking the bib notes, obviously that's not a great thing to be multitasking with.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work. And capturing the main idea on a card, I need solitude for that. But a lot of the rest of it, it's more reactive and playful. So I would say that kind of tending is happening in the evenings now. And once I get through this backlog, I'll see what the actual sustainable schedule is. Right now, it's just I just created a bunch of cards, having a flood of ideas, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah. But it's a few hours every day.
Wow.
Because I've got a backlog to work through. And I figure the initial idea when it's your own personal reflection is like, who knows how long it took to get there, but it only takes a few seconds to write that thing down. But then to ornament it with all of the other stuff that really makes it juicy. If I am already clear on what that thing is, it's a 10-minute job per card. And when you got hundreds, it's more. And then if it's not clear, you're staring saying, what is my personal reflection on this?
It is. It's a lot of conversation with yourself, which I find, infinitely fascinating. I never know what I'm going to come up with, but it's always interesting. So, yeah.
I mean, like one of the cards that I stared at for probably 15 minutes, just trying to figure out, well, what is my personal reflection on this? And then I thought, well, my personal reflection is that this idea is not ready. There's a future in this. I see some kind of future heading in this direction. I don't know what it is. And that's my personal reflection.
And there you go. Nice.
It's these forced conversations with ourselves that gives it the value.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
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 That's the thing. Personal baptism.
Yeah. I'll just add one little thing. Sorry that I keep going on about myself. The other one is that in my daily log at the end of the day, I keep track of, did I write a line about the day? I always do that. It's in the same thing. Did I practice the piano? Did I take a walk? Did I do yoga? How many times did I meditate? And what was my interaction with Nadia Z like? Was it a balanced input and output, or just one or the other? And right now it's input, 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 input. But at least I'm keeping track of that. And when those things produce actual words on the page, then that counts as for output.
I love that metric. That's cool. It never occurred to me to track that kind of relationship. I like that because then it's a way that you can see evolution and progress, which is kind of what I was asking about. So very cool. I might have to do that. That's good.
So you have these I don't know, 5 questions that you answer each night, and then you get up and you sleep. I guess cogitate, do the thing, while you sleep, and then you get up in the morning and you do verbal a verbal log?
I haven't done that verbal log in a while.
Mm.
Because I've just been trying to mine it for projects, which is what it had become. It had become me talking about, I want to do this and I want to do that, and this would be great, and I'd like to do that. 63 ideas later. I'm just so, but that is, I get up, I do yoga, I meditate, and I was doing those verbal logs, but I've been giving that a sabbatical.
Cool.
It's only so much I can stand being with myself.
I wish I was a morning routine person. I love the idea of it, and I kind of used to be, but I've gotten away from it. So I need to revisit that too.
Well, I'll jump in then because I am a morning routine person. And I wake up very naturally, almost always sometime between 4 and 5 a.m. And then, get up, shower, dress, and fix a cup of coffee. And here I am in my office. And if I could, I would probably spend 5 hours just reading, writing, whatever. Because I just love that time of the morning. And I find that it lasts until, stomach growling demands for breakfast or husband's stomach growling demands for breakfast intervene. And I have to break away. So it's almost always at least 2 hours a day. In the beginning, it was all reading and creating cards that went into my Zettelkasten. And now it's kind of split. I like to spend at least an hour reading and taking input. And then the rest of the time usually is going to writing now because I keep a newsletter and I'm writing a book on the Zettelkasten. So I need a steady block of time for those. And then I'd like to get another hour in the afternoon for reading if I possibly can. Sometimes I can't, I will if I can. So I'm pretty steady with those things. And right lately, but the style varies depending on what I'm doing. I find that when I want to make a foundation on a subject, I don't know, this goes back to some inability or some mental weakness on my part. I have this challenge that until I have laid a very, very solid foundation on the most basic, simple, non-complex parts of a thing, I can't build any complexity on it. And so for me, that's where the Zettelkasten helps so much because I create my main cards. And when I'm making a foundation, like right now, I'm working on the Michael Dean essay patterns and the elements and dimensions that lie above them. So there's a whole construct there. And I'm very deliberately making foundation cards to go with every one of those and very deliberately doing all of the indexing for each of the key terms in those. And it's very if I had a rabbit brain that was capable of moving on new concepts quickly, I would probably just rebel in boredom. But because I have the kind of mind that I just need to feel as comfortable with each of those words as I am with my own first and last name, I can't build anything on top of it until I have that comfort zone. I have to have that basic comfort zone. And so this is building it for me. So now it's no longer a question of memory, I'm going to go to my memory aids and using my memory aids, I'll construct. Yes, I did remember all of those. I'm at the point where it's just like, okay, boom, 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 I have them. And I need to be at that spot, even if at the beginning it's just words, then I can build it. And so I'm in that deep foundational level. The couple of weeks prior, it was that doing the same with love. Now I'm doing Michael Dean stuff. And I'm not going past the foundation until, even in his work, because he's built chapters beyond, until that foundation is just It's in my Zettelcast. In my Zettelcast and fully indexed. I know I've got it.
Awesome.
So this for you is coming to terms, as Adler put it.
Is, but not frontal lobe coming to terms. Frontal lobe for me is just too flighty. It won't go into long-term memory that way. For me, it has to be just cemented, you know.
Yeah.
At the most basic level. Then I can build.
Yes, your hockey stick.
Yeah, my hockey stick learning curves. Yeah, it's just like, when am I ever going to get past the basics?
Cool.
Well, I am not a morning person at all. My morning routine consists of spending about 3 hours drinking a cup of coffee and maybe reading something.
Nice.
But you know, about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I'm really getting into things. That's when I have the energy and
Oh,
I want to
man.
get into something. But let's see, the question was about daily routines, and I don't have a specific daily Zettelkasten routine. I tend to like to do deep dives more. So like if I'm getting into a new topic in my newsletter, you know, like several months ago, I made a bunch of cards because I was studying all of the things that were related to it. And it stretched out over, you know, like 4 or 5 months. So I've been using those cards, adding to them as I learn more. But, you know, I had those foundational cards that I did in about an hour or two, several months ago. So I tend to really want to do a big batch at once and really focus for a couple of hours at least. I do have a bib card in almost every book that I touch. And I do have a lot of books going at once in different parts of the house. So I do make bib notes on those, and I've been following Scott Shepard's exhortations and making note of prose fiction stuff as well, which has been fun. It's nice to note that stuff down. So yeah, it's really ad hoc and as needed, and when there's a need to jump into a big project, then I do a whole bunch at once for several hours.
Cool. Cool. I would love to be able to work at night like that. I used to, but now I don't know. I'm by about between 6 and 7 p.m. I am absolutely done with the day, which is unfortunate, but that might turn around after I escape from Satellite Island. I suspect my energy will skyrocket. So yeah, my job right now largely influences my work time. You know, I'm in an industry where I have to run toward the fire as it happens. And so my time really isn't my own a lot of the time. So the thing that prompted this question is I was just curious. I know, Mel, you're still working, and Julianne is recently retired. And of course, Kathleen and Deb are retired-ish. But, you know, I was just curious, how do you dip into the Zettelkasten and harness it, whether you have those big pockets of time or, you know, like I do, I just kind of collect, you know, if I've got 30 minutes here or an hour there or whatever. I would like to move more toward a routine. I could see myself maybe moving towards the Spracklin routine a little bit, because the morning is definitely my best writing time. So on the days that I don't have morning commitments, I tend to get up and get right to the writing, so I can just knock that out and know that if I can just get that done and in the books, then the rest of the days is good. So yeah, I think I'm most like Mel, just at the earlier part, not the later part of the day. I also like deep dives. I like to take a book and just like process the crap out of it, and, you know, make all the connections and create all the cards and all the places that it could go and every place I think I could use it. I just like to nail it all in one go. and then move on to the next one. I'm not as, I don't think as deeply when I multitask, which I don't think anybody does, but I tend to like to just really dive in and get under something. And so I try to make it a practice, like Julianne said, with the backlog of cartage, that makes me upset. I can't have too much of that at a time. So I tend, at least about every other day or every few days, I try to just literally do a library sweep, gather up all the cards, at least get them to where I think they need to go, and then sit down and, if I'm going to use them for something or they're going to go for the next thing or whatever. But I don't know. I find now my Zettelkasten habit is more of a weekly or a bi-weekly thing, that I really get in it and like do something independent of, the book that I'm writing, because I'm always going back and looking at things for that. But I think for me, it changes based on the project I'm working on. Kind of like, Deb said, you're putting your projects in buckets and you start to figure out now, in order to push each one of those forward, what is that going to take and what will it look like? That's exactly where I'm at right now as I'm, finishing this book and about to go back to the novel. I find more and more of my brain is going back to novel world, which is very exciting. So I find myself, staring longingly at ranch pictures, or I carry my Voynich manuscript around with me just because I can. So it's nice to have that eye back towards fiction again. I can't wait to go back there. And it's cool, with shameless plug for Kathleen, with this weekly writing challenge that's coming up with the character traits. That will give me a terrific excuse to jump in and start noodling around with those traits in a very tangible way, which I haven't been able to do up to this point. So I'm very much looking forward to that, because I think that's going to help just prime that pump for getting into writing book 2, which is going to be fun. So yeah, I try to dip in a couple of times a week and gather up all the orphans as I go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
That
now's a
brings us
really
to
great
the-
time for Kathleen to hold up the card and talk about this weekly thing.
Yes,
Yes.
the place where we gather is LiLLiPub.org, and we have a large number of circles in LiLLiPub.org, many of which are completely free once you are a member of LiLLiPub. Our Roanoke project is completely free. The circle for character traits that Victoria was just mentioning, and Deb mentioned that she's going to participate in that, totally free once you've subscribed to LiLLiPub, which is only $8 a month. After that, many of these circles are completely open to you at no extra charge, just there for your regular dues. And then you might also get tempted to subscribe to Mel's newsletter or Victoria's when it comes out, or mine. But the basics are all open to you just for your one basic dues for LiLLiPub.org.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Yes.
Well, with that, should we give everyone a handy wave until next week?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.